I started sewing about a year ago, last December. I retired in October of last year, and I really wanted to take a hobby up, and sewing is something that I'd always wanted to do. I really don't know why. I just think it's the craftiness coming out in me. Previously, I'd made things like pillowcases and curtains, really nothing else, and certainly not garment sewing. So let me tell you about the 5 biggest things that I have learned in the last year in regards to sewing. Hi, I'm Caroline. Welcome to Sweet Pea Sewing. Now, these 5 things aren't in any particular order. I've just learned them over the last year. But let's start with number 1, which is sew for your lifestyle. And I know a lot of people have heard this before. I have heard this before. But when you first start sewing, you are just taken away by all the shiny things, whether it's fabric or patterns or watching tons of YouTubers making the most beautiful things. It's really, really difficult to not be caught up in that and not be making things that really don't work for you. And one of the biggest areas for me with this is dresses. I really didn't wear dresses much in my work. I don't really know why. I just didn't. And I love dresses. I love making them. I love matching beautiful fabrics up to them. But you know what? In reality, I really don't wear them much. And I have found that now that I have a year of retirement under my belt, what I actually wear every day, most days, because I'm probably home maybe 70–80% of the time. And when I first retired, I thought, I am not going to turn into a slob. I am going to wear something nice. I'm going to put earrings on. I don't know about makeup, but I'm going to try and make my hair look nice. You know what? None of that actually came to transpire. None of it. I wear most days very casual things, my sweats and a t-shirt or a comfy sweater. I mean, I just don't see anybody. I just don't. And I've learned in this past year that I need to sew for that. I may go out to something where I need to look nicer, maybe once a month. My category 4, and if you go back to my video where I did my wardrobe overhaul in the spring, you'll see that I talk about categories. Category 1 is sleepwear and that kind, loungewear. Category 2 is around the house, just, doing gardening or doing cleaning, those kind of things. So stuff that you really don't care about it being damaged or that kind of thing. Category 3 is a step up where you're going to go out, but you don't necessarily need to look really polished, but you still want to look okay. Running up to the store or whatever. Heaven forbid you run into somebody that you used to work with or from high school or your ex-boyfriend, something like that. Anyway, category 4 is the polished look, where you want to put on earrings and makeup, you're going out for dinner, those kind of things. Category 5 is formal events. I haven't had a single category 5 in the last year, none. I haven't sewed for it at all. I have sewed a fair bit because of dresses for category 4. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm going to do a wardrobe review at the end of the year showing you where I'm actually at with what I've made. Back to my lifestyle. So I really am all about category 2. I have to say probably 70%, maybe even a little bit higher. I love being comfortable, right? Who doesn't? You don't want to have to put makeup and hair on. You want to be comfortable. So that's really the biggest lesson that I have learned in this past year is I need to sew for my lifestyle. And 2026 is going to be all about that. Okay, let's move on to lesson number 2 that I've learned. This may be part of being a YouTuber as well, but I don't do well with planning. Now, in my regular life, and certainly during my work life, I was the best planner, and I had to plan to make sure deadlines were met. I was an accountant, and so constant deadlines, constant. And so I had to make sure that my planning was daily planning, weekly planning, monthly planning, yearly planning, all these planning. And I also was a great planner at home, meal planning, exercise planning, house cleaning planning, you name it, holiday planning. I did it all. Stressed myself out a lot with it, I have to admit. When I retired, that came down a lot, which, it decreases stress in such a wonderful way. But when I started sewing and when I started to do YouTube videos, I thought, well, I'm going to do planning. I'm going to do spring planning. I'm going to do monthly planning. It fell flat very quickly. And I found that I would plan on making 4 or 5 items and I would talk about it on my videos. But the fact of the matter was that I got bored with it quickly. And it's partly, I think, a lot to do with that, shiny thing that you want to make next. But I didn't like being slotted in. And I have to say, with retirement, I like the freedom of everything. And that seems to have exploded everywhere in my life. So I think that that is part of it, because part of being retired, the biggest part, is the freedom. For most people, not everybody has that, but you have the freedom to basically do what you want. So when I would do planning and I would line up these garments, it really didn't work for me. I'm very curious whether people, viewers, how you do it. How do you select your next item to make? Do you start, let's say it's the beginning of spring, do you go, okay, I go through my wardrobe, I need 3 new pairs of pants, I need 2 dresses. What do you do when it comes to planning? Or do you make one item and then think, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to make? What do you do? I'd love to hear about that, because definitely having a YouTube channel affects what I make. And I think that's probably true of most YouTubers. Maybe not. Maybe people just totally film what they make. But because I have that planning brain, I like to plan somewhat. So let me know what and how you plan your garments that you're going to make. Now, following on the heels of planning, capsule wardrobes. I'm very curious whether a lot of people do capsule wardrobes. In theory, they sound wonderful, but for me, there's a couple of things. I don't, as I said before, I don't get out of the house much, and I love that. I love being at home. I just love being at home. So we've started to travel a little bit, not a huge amount. We have a dog, and so I worry about him being boarded and all of that. So it's hard. It's hard to do those planning holidays, but we will do at least one. We do a lot of camping and we take our dog with us, and that works out great. I would like to do some planning with what I'm wearing normally, to be perfectly honest with you. I always pack the morning of. Doesn't matter where I'm going. I just okay, we're gone for 7 days, 8, 9 pairs of underwear, socks, whatever may be appropriate, I just throw it in. I don't worry about too much coordination, how things look with each other, nothing like that. But the idea appealed to me, and I haven't really tried to delve into it much, so I'm curious if that's a real life thing or whether that's more of something maybe that a lot of people talk about but don't actually do in reality. I think for work, I think it would be amazing to have a capsule wardrobe that you wore for 5 days, they all intermixed, and then you shift to your next color palette or whatever it may be, or maybe on a monthly basis, I can see how that would totally work. But at this point in my life, except for holidays and camping, yeah, I just don't really see how it works, even though the idea appeals to me. But I just think that that's probably another idea that I'm gonna let go. I'm just not going to try and pursue a capsule wardrobe. Color palette. Now, I find that this is a bit of a controversial area because I've talked about it on my videos before. And when I first started sewing, I thought I was a winter. I thought I was a winter. And the reason I thought that was because my mom was a winter. She had beautiful dark hair and porcelain skin. I have always been fair, very low contrast. I am so far from a winter. You can't be much farther than me. But I had never really looked into it much. So when I sort of saw videos on it and saw people talking about it, I thought, well, I'm going to look into this a bit. But I didn't want to put out the 200 or 250 bucks, to be honest with you. I thought, I used AI and I thought I can figure this out. Well, and a few viewers commented on it, and almost everybody says I'm a light spring. I always thought I had a cool undertone because of the blue veins, but apparently that's a myth. What I do find is I find certain colors look good on me. And the reason that I say this is controversial is I've noticed that when I start talking about color palettes, that this looks good on me or this doesn't, I get people saying, oh, that color looks great on you. Or I get people saying, wear what you want. Wear whatever you want. Don't worry about the color. But I do worry about the color, and I do want colors to look good on me. Now, take this white blouse, for example. This is the Ashling blouse by Jennifer Lauren. I love it. I made it very early in my sewing journey, and it really was one of my biggest successes at the beginning, and I haven't made it again. I should make it again. I love it. This is a classic white, I think it's a linen rayon mix. I got it thrifting. And technically, this white should not look good on me, but whenever I wear it, people compliment me on it. But it should be too harsh for me, but it's not. And so I don't quite go with the wear whatever you want, but I don't quite follow with stay in your color palette either. I think there's a happy medium. I think a lot of people, maybe not everybody, but you can slide over into other palettes. You know, I don't think autumn colors are going to be for me, but I do know that some of the winter colors, the gemstone colors, actually look really good on me. But my main point on talking about the whole color palette is it really taught me to look for color because, and I'll get into this a bit more when I talk about my final and last point, but because I really was attracted to all the colors of fabrics when I first started sewing, and that was a big, big, big mistake. I went for pattern, pattern, pattern instead of blending it with a lot of solids that looked good on me and using very bright patterns as more of an accent more than the main dress. I do know a lot of people do sew with beautiful bright fabrics and it looks fabulous on them. But what I find is, and this again goes along with my lifestyle, is I just don't wear them. They're not practical for me in my retired life. And that's just me. For a lot of other people, they don't. But in the summertime, I love, if we're going out for something, I do love to wear a bright, beautiful dress. But I also love muted shades. I love the pastels. I love the whites. Black, I have to be careful of. I will agree on that, you know, I have low contrast. But it was a big learning curve, and I love learning about color theory and all of that kind of stuff. For me, it was just a good thing to learn about because I had never I never understood about color theory and how it can affect how you look. Now, you may have noticed that I have not talked about fit. And as we know, fit is probably the biggest, most important thing that you learn with sewing, more than the technical side of sewing or anything. I haven't because it's so well covered. What I will say about fit is make sure you know your body type. That's the biggest lesson that I learned from it. You need to learn how your body is curvy and where you need to make adjustments and that kind of thing. My final lesson is on fabric and patterns. Now, I don't consider myself an addictive personality, but whoa, when I first started sewing, I wanted everything. I wanted everything. I wanted all the fabrics. I'd go into stores, and I still am a little bit capable of that, and I don't think this is too unusual, but I'd go into stores and I would buy fabric without any plans. I'd buy the most bold colors and without any thought of what they look like on me or what I was going to make with them or even what they were made of. And same with patterns. Now, I love Big Four and I love Indie, and I think there's room for both of them. Indie by far gives so much better instructions on how to make the garment. And it's wonderful. I love it, and they have a lot of, measurement adjustments that you just don't see in the Big Four. And any independent pattern, for the most part, that I've made has been outstanding. Now, the Big Four has definitely given me the most challenge, but I love the patterns. And I find them all the time in thrift stores for 50 cents or $1. I have 3 criteria when I buy a pattern from a thrift store. I have to like the pattern. It has to be uncut, or if I really, really like it, I'll open it up and make sure that it's cut to my size. And third is it has to be in my size range. It can't be, up to 14 or 16, because I'm generally an 18 or 20 in the Big Four. But I love the Big Four. They give you so many things in these closet patterns that you'll get from the Big Four that give you a jacket and a skirt and a dress and pants and a top. It's incredible. You do not see that with the independent pattern companies. You'll see a lot of different versions with the independent ones, different sleeves, different lengths, different frills, that kind of thing. But Big Four is very good at including a number of options. So I love it. And Big Four is just cheaper. It's just cheaper. Even on simplicity.com, when they have their sales, if you buy more than $75, which I haven't for a long time, but I did buy 42 patterns on their New Year's Day sale when I started sewing like 3 weeks before. Anyway, I did buy a lot, and I do have a lot, but I love them. I will never sew them all in my lifetime, but somebody will get the benefit from them. But they are cheaper. The independent ones, even the ones like Love Notions where they have Friday sale for $6, which is amazing, you still have to either print it out yourself and tape it together, which I hate doing and I will not do. I will not do it. I send them away to a printer, and so then I'm looking at, $10 usually to have it printed. So that's $16, and if you get the Big Four on sale, even at Fabricland here in Canada, they often sell for $10. There's a place in Vancouver, Fabricana, where they have this deal that if you buy a fabric to go along with the pattern's half price. And so that's $10. So you're still a lot cheaper. And like I say, a lot of them have so many different options on them. Very different options. So I love both. I love both equally. I don't love one more than the other. And I have a lot of patterns, so I have a lot of choice. I have a lot of patterns that I bought that will never suit my body. I don't know what I was thinking. I just don't have that beautiful 30-year-old body I once had with the curves. No, I don't have that, and these patterns just aren't going to work. I still have them. I'll give them up one day, but for now, they live with all the other patterns very happily. And to go along with that, and I've hinted at it, is the fabrics. The fabrics, again, I just bought tons of fabrics. Just, this was pretty, this was pretty. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And for the most part, almost all of those are still sitting there. And I hope to make something out of them one day. I'll probably destash and sell them because I need to really, really pull down what I have as far as fabrics. Probably about half of my fabrics, or about 40%, are thrifted, because it's amazing what fabrics you can get thrifting. But you have to be careful, because what I found is I bought a lot of smaller pieces, and they're really, I ended up re-donating them back. A couple of garbage bags full, to be honest with you, because they were too small to do anything with, and maybe I could have made a purse out of them or made something for one of my grandkids or whatever, but it just was annoying having all of those. I really felt very overwhelmed. I still do. I'm not going to lie. I feel overwhelmed by the amount of patterns and the fabric that I have, but I have got a lot smarter about my fabric. When I buy it, and I still do, we have a lovely little fabric shop in the town where I live, and I was in there yesterday with my daughter, and she had some great Black Friday sales on, and I bought some fabric. Do I have a plan for them? Of course not, but they are very high quality, which is natural fiber. I am totally all about natural fiber. I try to avoid anything polyester, synthetic now. It's all natural fiber. You pay more, yes, but that is what I want, and it's so much more comfortable to wear. So that's where I'm at now with those 5 lessons that have been life-changing, and I still love sewing. And it's so nice to actually come to this point instead of circling around. Oh, I need to plan for this, or I should make this capsule wardrobe, or I should make this dress I'm never going to wear, or I want that pattern that I'm never going to make, or oh, look at that fabric that it just doesn't suit me or anybody I know. And so it's nice to have come to this point. And in 2026, it will be a very different year for me as far as what I make and how it works in my lifestyle. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what lessons you've learned over the years. I know a lot of my viewers have commented they have sewn for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So impressive. And so, are you still learning lessons? A few of you have said you still learn lessons about fabric and pattern, and that's very interesting to me, fabric and pattern choices. So I'd love it if you'd leave a comment. I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe for more content, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.